President Biden, Vice President Harris, and other White House officials have been out on the campaign trail touting the Biden administration's economic achievements. However, Americans in several battleground states say they're not satisfied with the current state of the economy. A new CBS News poll shows a majority of voters in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin all believe that the economy was better under Donald Trump than it currently is under President Biden. To discuss this, let's bring in Shalanda Young. She's the director of the U.S. Office of Management and Budget and a top advisor to the president. Director Young, thank you so much for being with me.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks for having me.
I want to get to economic sentiment in a moment, but I'd like to start with some breaking news, which is that the Drug Enforcement Administration plans to loosen restrictions on marijuana, classifying it as a less dangerous drug. My understanding is that you, as the OMB director, would have to review and approve that plan first. Do I have that right?
Nancy, what I'll say is you just pointed this out. This is the Department of Justice rule. So I'm certainly not going to get ahead of them, and I'll direct you to them for any information on this rule.
But this was a priority of the president's dating back several years, correct? When he asked DOJ and the DEA to look into whether the rules surrounding marijuana should be loosened?
Again, I think it'd be inappropriate for me to get ahead of the Department of Justice in talking about this rule, and they'd be the appropriate place to give you more context.
Understood. It's now been 1 week since the president signed $95 billion in foreign aid into law, including $60 billion for Ukraine. That package, I don't have to tell you, looked like it was dead so many times over the course of 6 months. Was there a point where you thought this isn't going to pass? We are not going to be able to keep this promise to Ukraine.
Nancy, I've done some variation of this for 20 years in this town. It ain't over till it's over. The president made a commitment to our partners and allies across the world. The leadership of America was being looked at by Europeans and everyone who considers us friends and leaders in the world. There was no way the president of the United States was going to let this fail. And thank goodness, members of both parties, as we knew, the governing majority were going to do the right thing. Did it take too long? Absolutely. But this is about American security. If America gives its word, we should be there for our friends. And as a reminder to everyone, if Putin was allowed to march through Ukraine and get on the doorstep of NATO, this is about America's security, not just Ukraine. So happy to see that that was finally done.
You were working with a brand new speaker who was under a lot of pressure from his own party. What did this experience teach you about working with House Speaker Mike Johnson in particular and the way he operates? What was the strategy there, and what will it be going forward?
Well, one, I want to thank him for being on the right side of history, for doing what's tough. And anyone who does his job, who do any of the jobs here, that's what the American people send us here to do the right thing. And the right thing is never easy. And that goes for Senator McConnell, Senator Schumer, Leader Jeffries. They all came together and they did the right thing with the president's leadership. And we're just happy it got done.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the Key Bridge in Baltimore that collapsed last month. President Biden has said the federal government is going to pay the full cost of rebuilding it. Do you have a tentative price tag for that yet?
Nancy, that's exactly what we're working on in partnership with the state of Maryland, with bipartisan leadership in Congress, with bipartisan delegation in Maryland. Again, I've worked on issues like this before, disaster response. The American people are going to show up for the people of Maryland. We're going to ensure that that port is reopened fully, that jobs are reinstated. And you heard the president, so let me be as crystal clear as him. We are going to be there for our partners in Maryland. And the sentiment of the people I talk to in Congress, the bipartisanship is there. Everyone knows we have to step up. As Americans step up when things happen in my state of Louisiana, in Hawaii after the fires ripped through Maui, the American people are going to show up and be there for the state of Maryland.
I want to ask you about the economy. Inflation creeping back up. In a recent CBS News poll, the majority of voters across 3 battleground states classified their state's economy as bad. And a separate poll shows 80% from each state also say that it's a major factor when it comes to their vote in the 2024 election. Why do you think feelings about the economy are still so negative despite wage increases and job growth?
Look, I'm on the policy side. I'm an economic advisor to the president. I'll let polling and pontificators speak to those things on the political side and how voters see things. But let me tell you, we are doing everything possible to bring down costs for the American people. Inflation has come down 60% since its peak, but costs are still too high. We get it. The president gets it. And that is why we put forth proposals to bring down prescription drug costs, to bring down energy costs. We're looking for partners in Congress, bipartisan. If you think costs are too high, work with us. Look at the president's budget. Let's do something about it. You can't just talk about it if you think it's a problem for the American people. We put forth proposals in our budget, and we want members of both parties to stop talking about it and let's help bring down costs for the American people.
There was another poll that showed that more voters from these states think their finances will be better off if former President Trump wins than if President Biden wins. What's your response to those voters? Again,
I'll leave the politics for others. But what I will say is this president has presided over 15 million jobs added. Unemployment has been below 4% for over 2 years, a 50-year record. This is nothing that happened by accident. This president led a successful vaccine campaign, got the country going after COVID, and led a historic recovery of the economy. And that is nothing that was set in stone. So the president's record is strong here. Real wages, even with inflation, have grown, and we're going to keep pushing. It is our #1 priority to bring down costs and ensure that Americans feel good about where they are.
OMB Director Shalanda Young, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Nancy.
Appreciate it.